1, 2, 3, 4.
That peachy little number was by America's new favorite pop group, the...
Known as in those days, you'd understand why I'm a little cagey with the details. I think I'd better wait till Bill's dead before I start spouting about all the things we got up to at Penn. I was only 15 when I started, you know. Couldn't even string my lines together for those stupid plays Bill had me doing. I seem to recall always being cast as some kind of king or nobleman, probably so I didn't have to explain what I was supposed to move around. Bill always worked so hard at those plays, and of course later poetry too. He was never really cut out for it. Much more of a doer than a thinker.
Sorry, I think this thing cut you off at the start.
Oh, that's quite all right. Shall I start over?
Please, Mr. Pound. Though, could we talk a bit more about your poetry, your approach, how you developed your style, that sort of thing?
You don't really want to hear about that, do you? It's all in the magazines and the journals. It's old hack.
I'm interested.
Well, give me a moment to collect my thoughts. Imagism was for us an experiment. A means to test and touch the limits of language, and hoping to come up against something, if not entirely new, at least perhaps more true. A language beyond the narrow confines in which you and me are using it now. Though you have to understand, it was all a preamble to the kind of work I'm doing now.
You mean the P's and Cantos? You published that years ago, no?
Are you familiar with it?
I skimmed through it at the library. Not really my thing, to tell you the truth. I prefer your early work. It's a bit more concise.
Oh, concise. Yes, I see. But concision isn't necessary anymore. Our lives are too great and fractured. We can't help them from bleeding out. I think it's this place. It keeps bringing me back to Italy. The broadcasts I made there. The death cell.
Mr. Pound, I really don't have time for biography. I came here to have a conversation with you because I think we both have something to offer each other. I'm not going to sit here politely while you drone on about everything you've been mixed up in, because frankly, I don't care. You're the father of modern poetry, and those theories, feelings and musings you've got kicking around up there deserve a new author.
Well, I value your directness, Mr. Prima. If I might ask, how old are you?
19.
And you're at college?
No, I'm a poet. Well?
I am more than willing to divulge my thoughts to you, but I will do so on my own terms. If you really want to learn something about how we achieved what we did at the turn of this century, and what I feel I have to offer poetry today, then you need to know why I'm here, in this place. Why we're able to have this conversation at all. I'm a living, working poet, not a corpse for you to root around in.
I'm sorry. We got off on the wrong foot, Mr. Pound. I'm happy to talk however you'd like to.
We can keep to poetry, but you'll have to humour me when I wander off.
Sure. I'll restart the tape.
Hello?
You let me in? I met him.
This is the wrong number.
Alan, it's me, Diane. I met him, Ezra Pound.
Huh? Diane? It's the middle of the afternoon here. I was taking a nap. Wait, who did you meet?
Ezra Pound. I didn't think it would be so easy. I just walked straight up to his room in the visiting hour.
Fuck. Diane, that's amazing. What did he say? Did he talk about station?
Alan, it was amazing. It was so open and quick, and we weren't just talking about poetry, but how poetry can be the world it describes, to make something out of it, expand it beyond our perception.
Hey, slow down a bit. Let me grab a pen.
And weirdly, the most fascinating thing he said was about the P's and Cantos.
Sorry?
The Cantos? You know, the one everyone was all up in arms about because he was awarded that prize.
Diane, every self-respecting liberal in America had a right to be pissed about that. It was pure nepotism. Elliot was on the panel. It was all fixed to get Pound's fascist ass out of St. Elizabeth's.
Yeah, of course, but there's some real depth to the poetry itself, beyond the whole scandal. I was just listening back over the tape there, and there's some really interesting stuff. You know, he started writing it while he was interned in a 6x6 metal cage by the US government. Stupidly romantic, of course, but imagine being locked up out in the sun for weeks on end, scrawling notes on a roll of toilet paper.
As fine a medium as any.
And after the war ended, he walked 450 miles to Bologna to...
And I assume he carefully omitted what he got up to during the war.
No, actually, we talked about the radio broadcasts too.
Diane, I wouldn't get too swept up by his whole life story. I thought you were talking to him to get, and I quote, an invaluable first-hand insight into modern poetry. What makes it tick? What makes it different from all the other garbage that was floating around at the time? I just don't see what any of the fascist bullshit has to do with it.
Well, nothing, obviously. It's just interesting, you know. His thoughts on poetry are visionary, even though it should be so obvious. He rambles, though. His ideas are all garbled into one big mess, and it's a fucker trying to sift through it all and try and piece it together. How's it going with Hill, by the way?
Oh, we're talking about my life now, are we?
Alan, come on.
I jest. It's done. Just been reciting it constantly over the past couple of days. Peter's sick to death of it, I'm sure. But he thinks I should read it at the 6 on Friday. I think maybe it's too soon.
Oh, you should do it. You've been bugging me with this thing for months. Time to inflict on some other put unsuspecting bastard.
Fuck it. I'll do it. You caught me in a good spell. Are you heading over to Grill Pound again tomorrow?
Yep, and the next day and every day until they either drag me away or lock me up to it.
Glad to hear it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Diane, come right in. I found something you're going to love.
I see you've cleaned up.
What? Oh, yes. Well, I had to take everything out of the cupboards to find those transcripts you were interested in.
The broadcasts?
Yes, they're over by the fireplace. But I found something even better. Look at this.
A microphone?
It's the microphone I use at Rome Radio. Needs a bit of a polish, but it still works rather well. Try it. It's plugged in.
Today on our show, live from St. Elizabeth's Hospital, we have everyone's favourite has-been poet, Ezra Pound. Mr. Pound, do you have anything you'd like to say to the American public? Anything at all?
No.
Well, you heard it here first. Famous words from the man himself. Hey, this is kind of fun. Can it still transmit?
I wouldn't know. Giorgio always handled the technical side of things. I was just the ideas man.
How did you start giving those broadcasts?
Well, the Italian government weren't initially very cooperative. Wanted me being an American and a poet of all things. But after some gentle coercion, a good word here, a small bribe there, they gave me a daily slot. I think they hoped I'd be able to convince some more of my countrymen to join the cause.
And the radio is used to spread anti-Semitism?
Yes, in relation to the intricacies of world economics.
But you know all that stuff's bullshit now, right?
I stand by my principles, Mr. Prima. Mussolini was a deeply flawed and troubled man, but I do not regret putting my confidence in him. He had the right approach, strong-willed and incredibly modern-minded. You look a little disturbed.
I don't know if I can stand here and listen to this. My grandfather's Italian, an anarchist. How can you be taken in by such narrow-minded racial elitism?
You asked about the broadcasts. They're a part of who I was, and still a part of who I am. My opinions are grounded in fact, Mr. Prima, not vacant prejudice. The Jews are the single...
I can't listen to you talk like this.
Would you rather we go back to talking about poetry?
Ezra, we're out on the lawn if you want to come down. Your girlfriend's welcome to join us, too.
Yes, I'll be down. Just give me a moment, please.
Who is that?
He's the superintendent here, Winfred. It's a good thing he holds me in some esteem. Makes this place a little more bearable. Shall we go?
I suppose.
I'll just get my scarf. Diane, can you unplug that old microphone? I don't want to start a fire.
I've had a... You're great, Diane. Maybe we can go down to Gaslight together on Thursday night.
I suppose.
You know, I'd love to stick around and hear some of your poetry. I'm told it's really something special.
I'm really sorry, Tim. My roommate will be coming in from the night shift soon, and I wouldn't want to keep her up.
Oh, I can be real quiet if that's the...
No, it's really just...
Right, sure, I get the picture. But if I could just say...
Hello?
Man, I never thought I was going to get rid of that guy.
Who's the lucky fella?
Tim Carey. God, I had to practically push him down the stairs this morning to get him out the door. Can't sex be enough? I'm just listening to see if he hasn't still at the door.
I think you're being a little harsh on the guy. He gets nervous on dates. So we went out in the village and all he seemed to want to talk about was the architecture of the buildings we passed, trying to stave off any emotive topic of conversation for as long as he could. I don't know, maybe he's different with women. He really loosened up after sex. We made bread together.
Wasn't even a date, Alan. And if anything, he seemed to get more uptight afterwards, fucked. You obviously can't stand the sound of somebody else's voice.
Of course. Now I remember what we had in common.
Oh shit, Alan, how did the reading go last night?
Well, it was certainly pretty eventful. Good turnout, plenty open minds, all the right stuff. Problem was, I was just a little too drunk when I arrived.
I see.
Yeah, well, normally I don't get nervous before reading or speaking or anything like that, but I woke up Friday morning with this huge weight hanging over me. I told Peter I wanted to cancel, and I thought he was going to break my shins. I'm serious. So just before we had to go, when Peter went down to the store, I ran a bath and brought in a couple of bottles of wine.
This is sounded like every other story you tell me, Alan.
Hey, I'm practically off the stuff, but it was great. Really, you should try it. But it seemed like a split second later, I go from the bath to the six, and words are just dripping out of my mouth. Who even knows if I read the right fucking thing? Yeah, everyone said they loved it. I'm not in that fake have to say I loved it kind of way. It was pretty magical, Diane.
That's great. How about you read it to me over the phone? You haven't let me hear the finished version yet.
Oh, God, not tonight, please. I was just about to doze off when you called.
You're not getting away that easy?
How's it been going with Ezra recently?
Is that you changing topic?
A little. But I'm interested.
Well, I suppose I feel it's been pretty slow. I tapped into a lot with him at the start, but he seems to be a bit reluctant to see more. I don't know. I think the whole thing might have just run its course.
So he's been talking about how much he hates the Jews.
I just don't know what to say to him. I want to be angry. I want more than anything else to try and make him see his fucking ignorant worldview for what it is, but I can't argue with him. He keeps diffusing the situation by coming back to poetry like it's some kind of obvious transition, and then I can't help but feel drawn to him, and I hate myself for it.
So he's anti-Semitic. Hey, who in America isn't these days?
Alan, it's not like that. I can't excuse him, but I just can't walk away from this now either. When we're talking about art, he's so frantic and vibrant.
Diane, I'm not asking you to justify yourself. Just think about this, okay? Is it worth getting so involved in someone like him? You're a fantastic poet, and you're making it work on your own.
I'm not making it work, Alan. Only you are. I don't think he even listens to me when I read my poetry to him, and no one wants to publish what I'm writing. Too personal and erotic and formless, and unlike you and Bill and everyone else, I'm in danger of becoming my poetry. You know, I was living in the park last summer, and this freezing shithole apartment with one candle for a light isn't much better. I can't even pay the rent now. Susan and Pete have moved out.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to say that you don't need him. So what if he doesn't care? Maybe it's for the best. He's only going to put ideas in your head.
I'm not going to be taken in by him, Alan. Do you think I'd be that stupid? I keep my distance from him. I'd hardly call us friends. I want to challenge him, but there isn't even any fucking point. He's lost it. His grip on reality hardly stretches beyond poetry, and it's not as if he's going to do any damage. He's practically locked up in that hospital. I just can't ignore an opportunity like this, taking literature right from the source.
Do you really think there's going to be anything to find?
I'm not trying to find anything, and I don't need you to tell me how to...
And that's the beauty of it, really. The simplicity. The transmitter who invented nothing. Confucius was ahead of his Western contemporaries by millennia. Perhaps still is. Of course, it took me quite some time to become adept enough to read it in the original. I kept a small dictionary on me when they took me away. Dragged out of my own home, no less. Is this interesting to you? Perhaps you should start the tape.
It's on already. I just keep it running now.
Very wise. Well, as I was saying,
You were telling about how those dirty low-life commies turned you into the White House.
Don't you work for the government?
I'm a writer primarily, ma'am, like yourselves. I've worked with Senator McCarthy, but that doesn't mean I'm a government man. There are things going on under your nose that you wouldn't believe.
Eustace keeps me informed on the real current affairs.
We swap ideas. Mr. Pound might be the only man in America I see eye to eye with.
I don't believe there's anyone in America I see eye to eye with Mr. Mullins.
Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you, Diane. Ezra, thrilling as always. I'll come by next week and drop off a copy of my new book.
Safe journey, Eustace. You embarrass me there, Diane. Is it really necessary to cut the man down at every opportunity?
You're embarrassed? I had to sit and listen to that pig spit out vile conspiracies about eugenics. How can you stand him?
He's a very serious man. He has conviction, and I admire him.
You're awful. I just can't keep my mouth shut anymore. You're despicable. I've been coming here to visit you every day for weeks, and every day you prove me wrong on everything I've ever thought about you. You're a singular beautiful poet, Ezra, but you're a fucking cunt. Well, say something. Isn't that what you do? I won't be coming back.
Come and sit beside me.
No?
Diane, please. Put on the radio. We'll listen for a moment.
I love you, Diane. I have done for 30 years. I know I wasn't the only one, but look, I've never been happier than when I was painting with you in New York.
To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2.
Hey, Diane, it's Pete. I just wanted to congratulate you on the new book. Send my love to the family.
It's wonderful having you visit, Diane. No one else will put up with my cooking.
Your food's great, Grandpa.
Then eat more of it, please. I'm going to have to throw all this out, and we'll get rats again.
I'm not particularly hungry.
Look, I know you don't talk to your mother about these things anymore. She tells me. No, you don't need to tell me either, Why don't we just talk? I can tell you about my day, no?
I'd like that.
Well, I went and picked up my suit from the dry cleaners this morning for Aldo's funeral. I bought some groceries for you coming tonight. Let's see, what else?
I remember Aldo. He lived up on 78th, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I took you there from time to time when you were a wee girl. You liked to smell the leather of his shoes. I never really understood why.
He always seemed very gentle.
Oh, sure. But he was angry too sometimes. Back in Italy, he was fearsome. But that's what we needed. It wasn't just every man for himself, despite what they might tell you about anarchy these days. That kind of selfishness soon breaks down if you want things to change. We looked out for one another, even when the Comanche Neri took over.
Mussolini's people.
Yeah, the black shirts. That's what they were known as then. So you're finished with your meal? I'll clear up now before things pile up again.
No, Grandpa, I'll get it. You just take a seat in the balcony. I'll be out in a moment.
Well, I'm not going to say no to that. How's your poetry? Are you still feeling the same love for it?
I'm not sure. I was thinking about giving it up.
Well, you know what's right for you, Diane. You're good at knowing yourself. Not many people can say the same. But you can still come and visit me sometimes, yes?
Yeah, of course.
So, you decided to come back?
I have something to say. Off record. You are my bread and the hairline, noise of my bones, you are almost the sea.
You are my bread.
You are not stone or molten sound. I think you have no hands. This kind of bird flies backward, and this love breaks no window pane where no light talks. This is not time for crossing tongues. The sand here never shifts. I think tomorrow turns you with his toe, and you will shine and shine unspent and underground.
The sand here never shifts, and you will shine. I think tomorrow turns you with his toe, and you will shine and shine unspent and underground.